Hello, thanks for tuning in. My name is Zach. I'm a lifelong reader and lover of science fiction, fantasy, comics, manga, and personal development. And today I'm reviewing and giving my thoughts on my final book of 2024, which was in the spirit of setting goals and New Year's. It's Chase Jarvis's Creative Calling. So this book I got tuned into that he even had a book because he has another book coming out, and I was looking into that new book and add it to my queue in Libby, and I realized that there was this book from a couple years ago. It was published in 2019, so it's a few years old, and I never knew Chase Jarvis had a book. I think it must have just gotten mixed up with all the pandemic craziness of 2019. But some little backstory and personal note, I used to be a wedding photographer for over 10 years, and Chase Jarvis, if you didn't know the name, he is huge in the wedding photography and just general creative photography space. Maybe not so much anymore, but when I was kind of coming up through the ranks, yeah, Chase Jarvis was one of the influencers, the early photography influencers, because he created the platform called Creative Live. This was his live streaming platform, which back in the day, kind of 10, 15 years ago now, there wasn't as much sharing as there is nowadays. YouTube wasn't as big. You didn't just share your secrets with the world and build up to this influencer lifestyle. Photographers really did kind of guard their secrets. When I was learning the craft, it was a lot of trial and error, taking workshops, deconstructing how other people made it, and back in the day, reading books on photography, because there just wasn't the ubiquity of live YouTube like there is nowadays. And this kind of changed with Chase Jarvis. So his, besides being a photographer himself, and he was kind of an influencer in the photography space way back in the day, and he's still a photographer. He shared a lot of his behind the scenes. He was one of the people that I looked up to and tried to learn the business, learn the tricks, and then he created, through this live streaming sharing of his own ideas, he created a platform called Creative Live, which was a specific kind of online academy. Nowadays it's so common, but it's just for creatives, as the name says. So you would sign up and take the classes would be broadcast live, so I would tune in to these live sessions. I'd mark my calendar to listen to the photographer and wedding photographer, kind of big names of back in the day, watch their live sessions, take notes, or you could of course buy the class to watch on demand anytime. Doesn't seem like revolutionary now, but again, 15 years ago, it was totally revolutionary. It was really cool. I was there for the hype. And so back to this review, I never knew he had a book, and the book, it totally makes sense. And if you know his story, like I kind of described it a little bit, this book basically is his life story. So it's Chase telling his life story of how he kind of came up through the ranks, learned the trades. Like himself, he pivoted himself to be more creative. So he went from one path to which was on a path to a PhD, and he embraced his creativity and went down the path of photography, and he's made a life and career out of photography and out of being creative. So that's where the other half of the book is, where he's trying to kind of distill some of these life learnings and life lessons, and how, as the book kind of says, how anyone can be creative. And so it's a bit of a life story / self-help book, which is fairly common for the genre. The other one that comes to mind is Arnold Schwarzenegger's Be Useful, which is his tools for life, where he's kind of telling his life story, but also kind of pulling out of that life story the nuggets of knowledge and the kind of self-help, personal development wisdoms that you can neatly apply to any scenario. And that's what Chase Jarvis does here. And why I like the book is because it takes some of the kind of concepts of Atomic Habits and these other books you may have read before if you've read any self-help, personal development, such as Establishing Daily Habits and Doing Things Repetitively, Identity. These concepts will not be new, but he frames it through the lens of creativity. So if you are creative or you wish to be more creative yourself, or rekindle your creativity, that's what I got out of this book, and I found it very helpful in that regard. So it's not necessarily like maybe the artist's way, where here's 5 journaling prompts to do, here's exactly what to do to cultivate your writing habit or your drawing habit. It's more big picture, and he goes out of his way to even define creativity as creating. That creativity is not just drawing with a pencil, it's not taking a photo, but creativity is remixing things and bringing something new into the world. That's how Chase Jarvis defines creativity, not like the definition of just creating anything. It's something new, remixing previous ideas. So it can be starting a business, it can be writing, it can be photography, kind of traditional creative art things, but it can also be anything that you make as a human being. So I like that definition, that he's trying to kind of broaden his audience of not just photographers and other creatives, but how anybody already is creative, that creativity is a way of life. Humans are by nature creative. We create things. We create PowerPoints. I create, dashboards in my day job. I created code in my day job, and because I'm creating something new, it can be seen as being creative. That's the creating creative. So really interesting kind of way to look at being more creative. And if you have that mindset that, yes, we're all creative, so why not me? And I want to cultivate that creativity. His other key point is that creativity is a muscle. And kind of like the Atomic Habits idea that taking small steps every day, and the other Atomic Habit idea of every action is a vote for the person that is, such as a writer is someone who writes. So if I write every day, I'm a writer. If I draw every day, I'm a drawer. I'm an artist, right? It's these small steps help build your identity, and you can be creative by being creative every day. So that's what the creative calling is to establish a daily practice of creativity in whatever form that may take for your personal journey, whether it's spending 5 minutes a day sketching, whether it's journaling every day, whether it's working on your business, whether it's any myriad of other activities that you can define as being creative. So then that creative lens I thought was very helpful. It does have these strategies. He has a couple frameworks of how to be creative, such as doing the daily habit, tracking. These are covered in other self-help books. It's kind of like if you took Atomic Habits and applied a creative lens to it and just kind of looked at it from the creative mindset, you could almost say that this is similar. And the fact that Atomic Habits came out a year before makes me, okay, this wasn't a 5-star book. I think Atomic Habits does it better as far as establishing a habit in general. But again, this can be a helpful supplemental book, and that's what I got out of it, that if I already know Atomic Habits, and yes, I've read that book multiple times, I kind of read it every year around this time of year, around New Year's resolutions. But while Atomic Habits can be good for establishing any kind of habit, what if I just want to focus on my creativity? And what if I just want to, whatever that might be, writing, reading, drawing, creating something, maybe not reading, that's consuming, but creating videos. What if I want to work on my videos? I want to create every day. I want to work towards that goal. So yes, I might apply an Atomic Habits principle, like I'm going to create videos because that's creating new content. I'm working on my lighting, and I'm going to break it down into a creative habit like Atomic Habits, and break down the large task of today I'm going to write the script. Tomorrow I'm going to film it. The next day I'm going to edit it. The next day I'm going to post it. And I'm going to have a process of creating, and by filming videos, you're a YouTuber, right? That's taking the small actions, helps identify yourself as what you want to be. And he talks about that as being, building an identity. But then he also talks about broader creativity things, which are very specific to creatives, which is what I also loved about this book. And having been a wedding photographer for over a decade myself, again, he talks about specific things to grow your career as a creative. So those are very helpful if you want to, maybe you don't want to do it full time, but if you just want to grow your creativity. He talks about building community, which is, helpful. How another idea that's not from like a direct ripoff of Atomic Habits is that creatives also publish their work to the world and they share with others. So it kind of pushes you to, publish your work, share it with friends, get feedback, improve your work, because just if you're creating it, yes, you can create for yourself, but by putting your work out there, it really kind of elevates it to the next level, and you can build community. He shares tactics on joining meetups, finding others, finding support partners to build and grow your community, to share with the world. He shares stories of getting involved with other creators. And speaking of getting involved with other creators, I really liked his idea of mentoring and building your own mentor. And it's kind of the reverse of finding others, but it's finding people with the life you want that may be like a Chase Jarvis himself. I like that he's able to be doing action sports photography, but he's also able to be creative every day, be diverse in his businesses. So using that as a role model, what actions could I take to orient my own path towards that? Maybe you want to be a YouTuber, how did they start? So he talks about this as finding mentors through books, through anyone you look up to, and then kind of reverse engineering their life of how they got there. So it is that maybe generic self-help, personal development kind of advice that, yes, you've probably heard similar tactics before, but again, through that creative lens that may resonate with you. And like I've witnessed myself, I've reading tons and tons of personal development books over the years, that sometimes it's just the book hits you differently, right? It's just that it's what I needed to hear at this moment. Like right now, I have personally had stepped away from the photography, even though I do take photos here and there for family events and stuff. It's not really in a creative way, and that was what thing I wanted to resolve for my New Year's resolution, was to actually get more creative and build that creative muscle, because I feel it does translate to other aspects of life, that thinking outside the box in writing or drawing or photography can also train your creative muscle to think outside the box for technical problem solving. And I'm a huge believer in that, having worked in the photography space and also in the tech space as a software developer with a computer science degree and now a master's in business analytics and AI. That outside the box thinking, it's a muscle, so you need to just practice thinking differently. And it may not be thinking differently about your specific work problem, whether it's finance, accounting, or something that's traditionally quote unquote boring, but by working on your creative muscle outside of the job, you can bring that kind of lateral thinking, shift in thinking to that work, and you may see a problem differently. So all in all, again, this hit me when I needed it. I thought it was great for me at the moment. I will probably give it a 4 out of 5 because it's, again, not really new. It's a lot of the same general self-help ideas, but it's definitely better than average. So it's not like a 3. It's definitely a 4 out of 5. It was really interesting to hear his story. And the other kind of tidbit that I was always curious about, and I never read up on it, was Chase also developed an app called Best Camera, which I had bought way back in the day as well, because it was a photo sharing app with filters. So it was an app where you took a photo of something, could quickly apply a filter, and share it on a social network, which of course sounds exactly like Instagram. And this was all pre-Instagram. So it was one of those scenarios where I was using Best Camera, but Instagram took off and not Best Camera. So it's like one of those what could have been if Chase's app got acquired. So he does share a little bit of that story, which I had never dug into. I guess I probably could have read up on it, but it was interesting to hear how he kind of dealt with failure. I mean, maybe not failure, but a missed opportunity. And it's one of those, what if my app got acquired for $1 billion? How would a life been different? But no, he's gone on to continue being creative, pushing on this creative path, and he's still, pumping out content, creating images, and being a creative professional every day. So very interesting book. If you're, again, creative yourself, looking to return to creative or to start being more creative, and you want to help that little nudge to establish a daily creative practice, I think it's a great read. And again, this is Chase Jarvis's Creative Calling and How to Establish a Daily Practice to Win at Life. So thanks for watching, and have a great day, and go be more creative. See ya.